We don't talk much about low payroll teams unless their GM says something, their owner says something, or something happens with a player that is nothing personal worthy. It got me thinking about something when I was watching the Bristol Speedway game and all the rainy day activity they had when the game was suspended and then it was played again, and it was the Reds against the Braves. And I was looking at Elly De La Cruz, and I realized that Elly De La Cruz and Ronald Acuna, they are two superstars. And when MLB chooses the Braves and the Reds, it's done purposefully. A, because it worked from a travel standpoint. You're not going to bring two West Coast teams all the way east to play for one game to go all the way back west. When you look at the special games, is it not a surprise to you that when the game's in the Field of Dreams, you're going to try to get Central teams in there? When the game is in the East, you try to get Eastern teams. Obvious. But when you choose the Braves and Reds, coincidentally, the two starting pitchers had Tennessee roots. Amazing how that worked. Now, Spencer Strider got completely blown out by the rain delay, so he didn't even pitch, but he was scheduled to pitch. A native. Everything baseball does, correctly so, as it should, is with thought. They're pondering what is the best way to get the most people to watch what we're doing. What's the hook? We've got the chance of the biggest crowd ever. That's a hook. The cool factor of a baseball stadium inside a racetrack, that's a hook. What about on the team, the 26 guys? Well, you look at Atlanta, you know what hook. It's a national team, always has been, and you got Acuna. Sort of, until he gets hurt. On the Red side, what do you got? Because Cincinnati has no national attention. They were talked about when Pete Rose died. You talk about them every Hall of Fame with the Big Red Machine, Tony Perez, Dave Concepcion. You got it all. George Foster, Johnny Bench. But what about now? Now the Cincinnati Reds have one of the best players in baseball in Elly De La Cruz. The Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates, you could argue, have the best position player and the best pitcher in terms of young prospect and currently performing big leaguer. So Fox, during the course of their rainy day activities, decided to talk about Elly De La Cruz. And the discussion fascinated me. Keep in mind who's having the discussion. The people on the Fox broadcast: Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz. So you're not talking about schleppers. Now, we know about A-Rod and Jeter. It doesn't matter. When the camera's on, you got to listen to what they're talking about. And when the producers tell them that this is a topic, when they react to Elly De La Cruz and him being on the Reds, it's worth paying attention to. David Ortiz said, this is a kid that is so much fun to watch. You don't see his name out there so much because he's not playing in a big market. If he's a guy that played for the Yankees, Dodgers, even the Red Sox, he'd be on TV every day. And the most important thing, he's a great kid. I've had this argument with John Skipper so many times that I'm blue in the face. I'm not going to have it anymore. We had superstars on the Marlins. Absolute superstars. Why do you only want to show Yankees and Red Sox? There are such great players on other teams. And he told me the same thing then as he tells you now on the sporting class with Pablo Torre. I don't care who's on your team. You could have 25 Babe Ruths and it wouldn't make a difference. No one cares about your team. Very harsh. Very harsh. But is he wrong? Is he wrong? And if you look at numbers, it would indicate that he's not. That it turns out, for all of the complaining that people do about what happens to the names on the back of the jersey, it turns out what matters most is what's on the front of the jersey. My dream come true. Don't look at the players, look at the team, look at the results. What I forgot to think about is look at the city, look at the demographics, look at the ratings. As much as ratings don't matter, and we will have a topic about this later in this show when we talk about the NFL Hall of Fame game. As much as ratings don't matter for rights fees, ratings matter for optics. When you are going out and selling to advertisers and you are a network, you want advertisers to get the most eyeballs possible, but you want there to be buzz. You want there to be excitement, and that's city-related, not player-related. Has Paul Skeens on the Pirates led to national games? Has Bobby Witt on the Royals led to national games? Has Jose Ramirez on the Guardians led to national games? Think about it. These are superstars. And no one knows. The biggest problem they have in baseball and what they try to fix every single day as they go through marketing and sales and advertising, promotion, PR. How do we get people to understand that stars are worth watching even on teams that aren't? If you can have a player like Elly De La Cruz on the Cincinnati Reds, who, by the way, are in a playoff race, why are they not getting any attention? And you wonder why baseball wants to go to a national model? Because by making it regional, which is what it's always been, when you talk about what led to the disparity, the economic disparity, the payroll disparity, the competitive disparity, it was all about TV money. The gate money, you're right. The Dodgers make way more gate than the Marlins, but that incremental difference pales in comparison to the TV revenue for the Dodgers versus the TV revenue for the Marlins. You fix all that. You make everything national, where you can watch the Reds no matter what, no matter where you are. Where the Reds are on TV, and what you do is a national model that has with it equality. Because every team in baseball has a player that somebody can attach to. And we're not going to get into the reality that Elly De La Cruz, how could he be a superstar no matter where he is? He doesn't speak English. We're not going to get into the argument that you have to speak English to be a superstar in baseball, and there's no other league where the superstars don't speak English. Well, there's plenty of other leagues, NBA, where there's foreign-born players whose English is not perfect, and believe me, it all works. Now, Elly De La Cruz did an interview during All-Star Week in Atlanta. He is learning English. He's able to speak, but it is broken English, but it's going to get better and better and better. But are we as a society ready to embrace a Cincinnati Red player with broken English in the atmosphere in which we live? A guy who hails from the Dominican Republic, a guy who has been an all-star every year he's been in the league. That's how good he is, and it's not a commissioner's pick to round out a team to give your team the representative. That's not why Elly De La Cruz is an all-star. He's an all-star because he's already a superstar. Derek Jeter said, "This is what I hope. I hope for the baseball world, the Cincinnati Reds, whether it's this year or next year, they need to get into the postseason so the rest of the baseball world can watch, because he's fun to watch." Derek, here's the problem with your point of view. Cincinnati Reds make the playoffs. Exciting. They can be gone in 48 hours. The problem is that getting into the postseason, it's no longer good enough. Elly De La Cruz is entering the final season next year of pre-arbitration. He's going to be a Cincinnati Red for years to come. It is incumbent upon baseball to figure out a way how to get the broadcasters, how to get the fans to understand that love the front of the jersey. Pay attention to the back and enjoy it when you can. Whether it's a Yankee player who doesn't stay a Yankee forever, it happens. Whether it is a Reds player who doesn't stay a Red forever, it happens. Where we need to be is the present. We spend so much of our life telling stories about the past and making plans for the future that half the time we completely ignore now. Have you ever done that? Been at dinner talking about what breakfast will be, or been at lunch and talking about what dinner will be, or been on a trip and talking about what the next trip will be, or been in a conversation and instead of being here now, you're talking about, hey, when are we going to see each other again? Where are you? When are we going to talk again? It completely ruins everything. Enjoy Elly De La Cruz as a Red today, because it's super fun to watch.